with players that have played on the outside tables their first match, and then they come into the arena tables. Rail's a little softer with the heat from the lamps. But what a match we have here as far as fireworks. Two guys that can really pocket the ball from a lot of places.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about all the first round matches, as it were, that have been one-sided. But what we're seeing so often in this US Open over the first 2 days is well-established players squaring off against each other as early as their second match. And this is another one now.
Yeah, Johann Chua, who really only has come to America the last few years during this time of the year for the US Open and then the International. But I think you're going to start to see him a lot more, realizes, you know, that America's the place to be in a lot of these events. And not only America, but the places like the European Open and whatnot. Now, he's a little bit more, I think, of the new age Filipino player. Much more structure in the stroke, and just a really super talented player. He's kind of a hybrid of today's proper techniques along with a little Filipino blood in there.
We're watching John Morra there over on the other show table. And Chua actually beat Morra to get to the quarterfinals here last year, and almost made further progress, beaten in a hill-hill finish by Carlo Beato, who went on to win the title.
Surprised he didn't, you know, elect to play maybe short side there, or at least think about it, just because I think he was in a prime position to do so. This combination not that hard, but how the 8 hits the pocket will really tell you where the 7 goes, because he won't want to roll this. Probably like a little nip draw, trying to get the 7 to come 2 rails out to the center of the table. And this is what I would have worried about. You know, if you hit the 8 a little thick to the pocket like there, the 7 doesn't travel near as much. And we'll see what Johann wants to do here with the 7 ball. I think he just comes across it, comes to the middle of the end rail. Now he's going to chop it twice and come, you know, kind of play it thinly, I think. Now he's queuing down low, so we'll see. Got to be the safety, I would think, though. All right, played the bank. It's going to hang. No, did fall.
Yeah, needed the 9 to fall nicely for him there, and it has, just the danger of it getting stuck to the 9.
He's got such a beautiful touch and good swing, though. He kind of opens the pocket up on shots like this. Doesn't have to be hit perfectly, even though that was right in the heart.
Well, he lost the 7 a bit in potting the 8 with the combination, but retrieved the situation well. And the net result is a break and run in the opening rack for Johann Chua. He leads Nikos Ekonomopoulos 1-0. We were looking at that SVB match. Everyone's talking about it here, and I was thinking, if he goes on to win this US Open, that might be his Mika Immonen moment. And that's referring, of course, to the great comeback he had, where he managed to pull it out along the way to winning the world title in Milton Keynes back in April. And Immonen is in action at the moment, but 6-5 down against Thomas Haas. Margaret Fefalova now leading 7-4 against Stephen Folan. And they are, as I said, battling for the right to play. Shane Van Boning. Tate, incidentally, will take on the loser of that match on the loser's side. 1-0 to Chua.
Yeah, open hand break there. So, of course, not going all at it. I mean, you would definitely not use an open hand break if you're really unleashing on the rack. But talked about this, you know, it's a forceful break. You don't have to go 100%, but you certainly can't baby him. But what I see he's using is more of what some of the players call a timing break. You know, just really good with the swing, good connection on the 1, gets the 1 on the side, and nice spreads on the balls. Good starter here. If he can get this one down, he should get in position to lengthen that early lead.
Just one other result I want to give you. Michael Schneider of the ever-strengthening Swiss contingent. I told you he was on the hill against Ji-Min Lee. He's now finished it off, winning 9-4.
Yeah, the Snyders, I was, of course, know Daniel, and I've watched him improve and improve. I actually got to play his brother Michael in the first tournament I played all year at the Texas State Open just a month and a half ago, and I was super impressed with Michael's game.
You were talking about playing in this, Jeremy, earlier in the year, so
yeah.
what happened?
Well, I was going to play, and I just thought about it more, and, you know, a couple years ago when I was assistant, you know, this event came down towards the end of the year, of course, and had a huge impact on the players' chances, and I had to play a couple of those guys trying to qualify, and I just felt like it was a no-win situation for me, and I thought more about it this year and just kind of felt like that might happen again. And, you know, I know I'm old, but I'm still capable of beating one of these guys a race to 9 or a race to 11 maybe. So I figured just let them play and see what happens, and, you know, maybe entertain playing next year, Michael.
20th anniversary.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, a little off angle here. He's just got to decide, you know, which way he wants to go with the cue ball, with the high ball. Should stay away from all the pockets. No reason to take a chance, even if you got to cut the 9 a little bit. No big deal. Now Chua with his swing, I really think sets up nicely for the carbon fiber shaft.
As you said, it's only in recent times he's been playing much here in the United States. And he's certainly bringing himself to the attention of the American audiences and those watching around the world with the start he's made to this match. 2 breaking runs. Chua very swiftly into a 2-0 lead. Corey Jewell 5-4 in front against Jonathan Pinagar. Juan Carlos Exposito of Spain on the hill at 8-2 against Lefteris Georgiou of Cyprus. Thomas Haas now with a 7-5 lead over Mika Immonen. So they're all playing their first matches in this round, which is the second match for these guys. Mark Bijsterbosch has won the opener against Lee van Corteza. And Konrad Jusicin is on the hill at 8-6 against David Derek Dyer. A real clash of generations just getting underway on table 17. Riku Rompainen of Finland, who's made a real name for himself this year. The youngster up against the well-established Darren Appleton. Lots of matches to keep an eye on in both of those rounds and on the loser's side.
Well, you know, for the most part, the U.S. Open has carried 256. You know, for many years, you know, there's been occasions where it didn't meet that mark, or, you know, like the year I won it, you know, there was a hurricane that was coming through, so the field got knocked down to like 180. But my point is that now you look at it, 256, second round, you're just getting incredible matches. There's so many great setups. You know, you could be in any part of the arena and just see incredible match after match, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to when I said 20th anniversary. It was 2003. You won your US Open crown.
Yeah, Johann Chua is one of those guys that all the players know. You know, if he's out there all the time, he's probably a top 8 player in the world. Of course, that's, you know, argumentative just because there's so many great players. But if you ask around from the top players, he's definitely a guy to be not taken for granted. And this is a part of the game that, you know, of course, Nico, I think he's probably early 40s, something like that, around 40. But
turned 40 earlier this year.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing. But, you know, if you're an early generation, you got to have this part of the game really at a high level, the jump shot. It's just so much a part of the rollout situations these days. And even though you may not like it, you got to know your opponent's very good at it. So you may not be able to pass this shot if you're Nico, especially trailing 2-0, right? He may not get another shot for a while if he passes it. Hard to hold position, though, even with the 3 over the side. Oh, that's a mishit on the cue ball. He hit a little left English, and he curved it.
Well, he was waiting a while, wasn't he, to play his first shot of the match. In the end, it was one to forget.
I'll be honest there. You could kind of tell, not only because of the cueing, but even on the strike of the ball, that Ekonomopoulos wasn't that comfortable with the jump shot. So I think that really led more towards, that Johann's probably going to make that. So Nico wanted to take it on himself. It's kind of like if you play Federer or maybe Jesus Atencio, really great jumpers. Sometimes you have to take on a shot that you don't like just because you're pretty sure they're going to make it.
We mentioned there Ekonomopoulos turned 40 earlier this year. Chua also had a milestone birthday in 2022. He reached 30 in May. Been around a few years. First really big thing he won was the All Japan Championship. 5 years ago now, beat Ronnie Alcano in the final. The same year, teamed up with Carlo Biado to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Yeah, he's just a super solid player, and when it comes to doubles, I'm sure that Carlo or any of the other Filipino players would love to have Johann on their team. Just one of those guys that sets up easy for a doubles partner, I think.
And why is that?
Well, he plays very standard pool, pretty simple, nice cue ball, not going to get you out of line very much. It's kind of like just players on Mosconi Cup teams that have always been, he can play doubles with anyone, right? So
unlike the first two racks, Nikos Ekonomopoulos did get to the table in that one. But it was only to give ball in hand to Chua, and from there he did the rest. And now it's 3-0. Corey Jewell still going well, 7-4 up now against Jonathan Pinagar. Janiuski is on the hill at 8-4 against Petri Tamanen. Stephen Folan battling well, 7-5 down now against Margaret Fefilova. Huge prize on offer there, the chance to play the world champion, Shane Van Boning.
Another youngster from America, Lucas Werner, 7-4 over Hahn.
Well, you've been talking for a year or two, Jeremy, about, trust me, there are American players coming through, because we've all been saying we haven't seen enough of them in recent years. And I think it's early stages in this US Open, but we're seeing signs that some of these new American names are now showing their potential.
Absolutely. It's, going to be a developing kind of thing, and it's just how it is, especially, when you could say you're a little bit behind the rest of the world. But, we have a junior tour. We have a lot of interest in America as far as people trying to do things for the juniors. So I really believe there's plenty of talent here. It's just corralling it in the correct manner. It's a nice 6-ball here for Johann. He can be aggressive with the cue ball, knowing he's got a pretty big pocket and possibly a 3-5-9 to extend his lead. And the good thing is the center of the table's fairly open. He can't go back and forth and get behind the 7, of course, but watch out, 6-ball. Is this 6-ball going to get ugly? It is. Wow. Well, that's something you can't predict. And now the jump cue. Well, pool's amazing. Look at where the 6-ball comes in. The one place to get in the way of the cue ball.
Well, it's a relatively small playing area, isn't it? So these things are prone to happening. No matter how much skill you have and how much practice you put in, sometimes you're just subject to the balls rolling around.
Yeah, I caught that a little thin. Don't know if he's going to leave anything offensive. And the one thing I always thought Nikos had a very strong mind, when he's feeling good, and playing well. I think he overcomes a lot. Always loved watching him play, but at times when things weren't going his way, you could see the attitude change, and I think that was a thing that held him back before when he played many more professional tournaments.
May have noticed a few moments ago Alex Kazakis sitting watching his fellow Greek player.
All right, looks like he can't afford to leave really an edge on the 3 going up table with the cue ball. Just because there's so much traffic, if he leaves an edge, he's probably not going to like it. And that's exactly what he's done. I didn't think he could get at any type of combination, but he could certainly maybe go for a long rail bank on the 3. Not totally free, but definitely a little bit of a safety in mind. And you can tell the way he's kind of swinging the cue there. He's definitely going for this bank, trying to hold the cue ball behind the 8. He's hit a little long and a little firm. So Nikos should have a pretty routine safety here, coming back behind the 4 most likely. Don't think he's going to play the 3. May just come back behind the 5, just to the rail. And maybe this is cuttable. Yeah, he's going to leave a little gap again. No, he's done pretty well.
Chua was part of the Philippines team, which won the revived World Team Championship in Klagenfurt just last month, along with Rubel and Amat and Carlo Biado. And they beat the British team, Jason Shaw, Darren Appleton and Kelly Fisher, 3-0 in the final.
Trying to get to the back rail. Bring the 3 back down. He got ball first, so he's going to need a little fortune. I'm not sure he's going to get it. So now Ekonomopoulos with his first real opportunity to get on the board.
Yeah, been so frustrating for him so far. He had 1 shot in the first 3 racks, and that was just trying to get out of trouble, which he didn't manage to do. So at last, a chance to get stuck in.
And it looks like he's going to draw to the rail where he's standing, just to offer a little more angle on the 4 to get around for the 5. Don't really see many problems. I probably don't go to the second rail with the cue ball here. Don't see the point. Just 1 rail float just by the 5. Nice angle to come up, probably for the 6 in the side. Just a little middle right English. Let the English kind of take. Looks like he can easily, he's playing the 7 in the same side pocket. Uh-oh, watch out. This could be serious issues from nowhere. Wow.
Oh, he's had a result there, hasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if he was just trying to get to that 3rd rail or not, because I think he knew it was a little difficult to get to the 3rd rail. Maybe the ball just rolled a little more than he expected.
I think at first it looked like it didn't quite have the pace to get there, but it was one of those where he kept expecting it to stop and it just continued rolling. Pulled up just in time. Would surely have been 4-0 down if it had dropped. Instead of which, Ekonomopoulos is at last off and running in this match. Chua's lead reduced to 3-1. A couple more winners to tell you about. Juan Carlos Exposito of Spain has finished it off now at 9-2 against Lefteris Georgiou of Cyprus. And Janiuski has won the all-finish clash with Petri Tamanen by 9 racks to 4. Francesco Candela on the hill at 8-3 against Rami Alcuba of Spain. 7-all now between Mika Immonen and Tommy Haas. And Margaret Fefalova on the hill at 8-5 against Stephen Folan. And just to remind you, that is for the right to play world champion Shane Van Boning. Mark Bijsterbosch in this round has a 3-1 lead over Lee Van Corteza. Konrad Jusichin 8-7 in front against David Derek Dyer. Triple D of the United States. And Aloysius Yap, last year's runner-up, has won the first rack against Mark Vidal Claremont. And the match we were watching a little earlier on table 2, John Mora 3-0 up on Roberto Gomez.
Yeah, I was interested to see the first break, of course, going with the cut break, but just how confident he was. Lost the cue ball downward a bit, so always, like always, a difficult rollout situation. He's got a little bit of room, but the problem is it's going to be hard to keep Chua from maybe attacking, even at a thin cut. The reason being is if you roll out to that side, he can cut the 1, not totally freely, but with the 3 and the 6 there, he can run the cue ball and think he's got a little bit of a chance if he misses it to not leave a shot. So I doubt he passes this. Although the guys seem to pass the rollout a little more often than they used to. Yeah, I don't really dislike the rollout. It was just, I don't think you were ever going to get it back. Now it's going to get in that gap. We will have a few players from yesterday from the one-loss side that will play tonight, but for the most part, all the guys that played yesterday are off today and will resume on Wednesday.
Do you think players like that, Jeremy? Would they rather just keep going, or do they like the opportunity to get a rest in the midst of what they hope for them is going to be a long week?
I think they love it for the most part. You know, you hate to eliminate any players on day one, but professional pool is a little bit different than amateur pool. You know, I mean, you got to look at the best parts of the scheduling, and the rewards of that is the guys aren't playing at 10 a.m. and then maybe 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. where they have this big gap. And, you know, I think the way the scheduling kind of blocks scheduling, I think, you know, 99% of the players really appreciate it. You know, you play a match at 10, you get right back up there like 1:30, 2 o'clock. You can really schedule your day and plan to have your best performance. Oh, he may have fluked this. Now he moved the 3 just subtly out of position. The 2, watch it as it goes off the point. It just snips the 3. And now the 3 doesn't play by the 6, so a fluke, but it may keep him from trying to attack and get all the way out. It's got a decent cross corner bank, believe it or not, to the upper right, to where he can swing the cue ball a couple rails back down for the 4. Element of safety in mind. He's going to try and roll this past the 6. I think what he was looking at there is if he rolls the ball, you know, maybe there's enough pocket to squeak, you know, the 3 ball in. And if that's the case, he certainly doesn't want to make it. I think he's going for that bank I was talking about. Yeah, he wants the cue ball to get all the way to the rail.
Chua was pushed hard earlier today by Brandon Schuff of the United States. Got it done at 9-6. Much more comfortable for Ekonomopoulos against his American opponent, Leo Ott, winning by 9 racks to 1.
Well, Brandon Schuff is a very good player from Virginia, Maryland area. He's played in the Moscone Cup. Big shot in this match. Chua's breaking the balls, looks like very effectively, so if he can bury this, he should hit right before the side on that left long rail. He got a little quick there.
Mentioned Ekonomopoulos as we see this miss again, being watched by Alex Kazakis, and together they formed the Greek team at the World Cup of Pool this year, got within one rack of a place in the quarter-finals. Ekonomopoulos this year is also a couple of last 16s in Euro Tour events. Last 32 of the European Open, would have played Shane Van Bonen if he'd beaten Sanjin Pelovanovic, but was edged 10-7. Went out relatively early from the World Championship, beaten in the last 64 by Si Chia Chen.
Yeah, difficult situation here. He'd like to go offensive, but I think that's what he's trying to do. But getting around that 6 ball looks very difficult. If he catches any of it, trying to get to that left long rail and around it, it could certainly scratch in the upper left corner. Problem is the safety is not easy either. Ekonomopoulos was really known for coming with big shots and big tough shots at big moments, what you would say is heyday. Yeah, he was really trying to go at that one. He's going to get a big roll here with the snooker behind the purple. May have left an edge. Looks like he's going to go to the jump cue. And watch, of course, he's far away from the 5, so getting over the ball, and it's not an entire ball either. But you notice he didn't break the cue down. He wants a little more length, trying to make the cue ball go forward off the 3 and back around for position on the 4.
See the missed pots stat coming up at the end of a match, and very often it can look as though it's been error strewn and they've been missing balls they should pot, but it might be a bit misleading in this match, because although we're seeing a lot of balls missed, they're generally pretty tough balls that these guys are stumbling on. Now you can see Chua's missed 4 of them, but they've generally been testing.
Yeah, just like here, for instance. I mean, it's a ball he's supposed to make, but now he's got it kind of feathered in if he does go offensive. Looks like now with the low ball, he's not going to go ahead. He's going to put him behind the 9. So we'll see how the nerves are. Easy to overhit that. Nice shot. There won't be a jump cue here. It looks like a 1-rail kick. Of course, the 8's a big ball, especially on a table that likes to spread a little bit on these kicks, so he's going to have to calculate for that. Looks like about the middle diamond on the top rail. Yeah, I wouldn't get fooled with the 3-rail kick here. I think that's more difficult, especially with the 6. So I think, like I said, about the middle diamond. Nice, hit this beautifully. And it's like the Filipinos are just born with that skill, it seems, Michael.
Yeah, look at it again. And just dropping so nicely onto the 4.
I'd like to get above this, but no reason to take a chance. If he can play the 5 on the side, that's okay as well. And most of the players will try to get above the ball there, though, especially if the angle allows it. A little tricky here over the 6. So doesn't want to get super thin. Does want an angle on the 6, but not an extreme one.
Seems to be caught in two minds here as to how to negotiate the problem of the queuing over and round the 6.
Again, he's going to gain that little angle. He's close to it. Should get to 4-1 here shortly. I'll tell you, Phil had asked me, of course, yesterday who I liked in this event. And, you know, I hate to beat a dead horse with Shane, but I always like Shane in this event, most events actually. But there's some other Americans I think that are going to make some noise, but I don't know, something about Jason Shaw's keeps popping in my head like he's going to be in there come Saturday evening.
Yeah, 5 years on from him winning it. So is he your pick then? I know Carl went for SVB, I went for Alban Ocean.
Well, you know, away from SVB, and since Carl got a SVB first, but I think Skyler's in a good spot. Got a lot of confidence with that win yesterday and a tight one against Jeffrey DeLuna. But outside the Americans, because I'm American, big time. But yeah, Shaw's my guy.
Johann Chua, very much the guy in this match at the moment. That one could have gone either way, but he's restored his 3-rack advantage now at 4-1.
I think this break format, I think Shaw loves this break format. You know, he was a semifinalist, right, at the European Open with this break format. That match was gotten a little goofy on him there against Josh, but yeah, I think he's going to be right in there. Now, we've only seen Nikos break the balls once, but we can tell quickly, or at least I feel like I can, how much more comfortable it looks like Chua is with this break shot and this break format, at the time at least, than Ekonomopoulos.
Just going to bring you up to date on another winner. Konrad Yusichin is through to winner's qualification round after beating David Derek Dyer by 9 racks to 7. Roberto Gomez hanging on over on table 2. He's just won the 6th rack to close to 4-2 behind against John Morra.
Yeah, and those two recently played a challenge match. So, and played a lot of pool against each other. Big combo. It looks like he's rolling it too, so he's got to hit this right. Nice shot. Little tricky here. He may draw this ball up the side rail to the top rail, or he could just roll past the 8. Just got to have a good speed control if he rolls it. That looks to be okay.
Been around for some time. Started playing professionally as a teenager. I mentioned his win in the All Japan Championship 5 years ago. And the fact that he was a quarter-finalist in this event last year, but reached the quarters of the World Championship as long ago as 2014. Beaten by Elmer Haya, his compatriot at that stage. He's also been a World 10-ball semi-finalist. And won the gold medal in the 9-ball division for the Philippines at the Southeast Asian Games in Vietnam last year. So steadily building an impressive resume. And I think we're going to see him playing a lot more in events like this, the big international open events. And all the signs are he's going to be a big factor in a lot of them.
Well, I think, you know, from what I've been told, big family guy. You know, likes it around home. Don't blame him there. We all do, it seems. And then, of course, the pandemic came along, so that slowed everything down probably for his progression a little bit, just like it did many young players. But But yeah, I think you're going to see him out and about a lot more. And really, these events are motivating the guys. What Matchroom is doing is making the players want to come out.
Well, the opportunity's there to earn a good living playing in these events and get the experience of being out here on the big stage. And these guys know they won't be in their prime forever. They want to avail of those opportunities while they can. Chua's been showing good recent form. I mentioned that team event that he won with the Philippines in Klagenfurt last month. In August, he was a semi-finalist at the Asian Open in Singapore, beaten by Ko Pin Yi. And all the signs are he could be playing him again in the next round here, because he now leads 5-1.
And you mentioned a name there that is another one of the guys I like outside of the Americans. I think he's been in form all year, Ko Pin Yi. I think it's going to take incredible matches for him to get beat. I think he's exactly where he wants to be, and he's going to be in here late on Saturday as well.
Well, he awaits the winner of this one. Margaret Fefilova has clinched that meeting with Shane Van Boening in the next round, i.e. the round that we're watching here on table 1 at the moment, having beaten Stephen Folan 9-7. Lucas Fracasco-Werner has finished it off at 9-4 against Ko Ping Han. Thomas Haas now on the hill against Mika Immonen at 8-7.
Well, that's the thing about this break. So far, it looks like Chua had broke the balls just exactly how he wanted. And it doesn't take much. Cue ball got lost. Did make a ball on the break. And talk about it. If anything's going to get any of these players going, ball in hand certainly one of those things that really helps, especially at a 5-1 deficit. No problems here. First part of the rack all grouped together at the top end of the table, then the latter half of the rack at the bottom. Pretty ideal as far as minimal cue ball movement.
Ekonomopoulos has been around since a young age as well, was World Junior 8-ball champion. So we see Alex Kazakis, his Greek teammate, looking on. And that was more than 20 years ago that he won that World Junior title. Was a winner on the Euro Tour 10 years ago in Austria, beat Wojciech Szewczyk in the final. He's been in 3 more Euro Tour finals since then, but hasn't won any of them. And perhaps his biggest moment in the spotlight in terms of individual events came when he got to the World Pool Masters final back in 2014. Beat some very good players along the way, as you have to do in that event. Torsten Homan, Alex Pagalai and Karol Skaversky, who'd won that title a couple of years earlier. He was then comfortably beaten by Shane Van Boening in the final of that.
Big shot there. He made it look very routine, where it really wasn't, and considering the score line, that was definitely a missable ball on the 6. Now in great shape to get it to 5-2 and breaking.
Well, this was just what he needed. He was really finding it hard to get any sort of foothold in the match. He was handed a very good chance here. And he felt it was one that he had to be clinical with. And he's availed of that opportunity to close to 5-2 down. Now more winners to tell you about. Francesco Candela has seen it through at 9-3 against Rami Al-Kuba. Not sure we gave you confirmation that Omar Al-Shaheen had won 9-3 against Dakari Turnquest. These matches all in the previous round to this one. And Corey Jewell as well, 9-4 winner against Jonathan Pinegar. Do you think Corey could still do a job for the Mosconi team, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, Corey's a guy that stays in great shape. You know, I think just Corey at times misses some time on the table. Yeah, but definitely. I mean, there's no reason why Corey still can't play top flight pool. A little confidence maybe lacking at times, but again, that's just a little more time at the table away from these events. But a good, nice win in an opener. A lot of people don't know Jonathan Pinegar outside of this country, but he's a very, very good player. And again, I just see Chua being much more comfortable with the break, at least here early, and I think he's got an opening on the 1.
Just what you don't want when you've started to threaten getting a bit of a foothold, as I say, to come up dry from the break in the very next shot.
Johann's kind of looking at the 5 ball. I mean, to me, I don't really get involved trying to do anything with the 5 or the 7 at this point. Maybe he could draw into the 7 and open things up, but he's taking a big risk. I like him just falling around a couple rails, get on that 2 ball. Oh, he's going to draw into the 7, it looks like. So could tie the 5 up worse. Yeah, could lose the cue ball. That was a very dangerous shot early in a rack that I don't think was necessary. I mean, he's such a good player. You're going to produce something getting on the 4 to get to the 5, 5-7 combo, maybe a safety. But now you've given up ball in hand and what I think was a very risky shot.
So the tide may be turning just a little. Ekonomopoulos got his chance right at the start of the previous rack. No mistake from there. And having been in danger of being cast adrift in this match. Chance here. If you can figure this one out to get back to only 2 behind. Just to keep you posted, Mika Immonen and Thomas Haas. That one is now a hill finish. Winner of that will play Chris Reinhold in the next round.
Yeah, I watched Chris this morning. He played a really solid match. Really hardly any mistakes, and I wouldn't get involved with the 5 here either. I think this is a mistake with the 8, such a big ball. I mean, you got to just shoot the 2, shoot the 3, get good on the 4 to play a nice jam up safety on the 5. I think you're taking a huge chance also here, to be honest with you. He's trying to warp this in, catch the edge of the 5 and spin up table. Yeah, and I just don't understand these guys are really panicking in a sense, I think. I mean, you're kind of throwing it up in the air there.
We always say when someone's struggling in a match and they're a good bit behind, oh, he's got to make something happen here. But you've also got to rein it in a bit. There's got to be a certain amount of percentages brought into play.
Yeah, and Chua's done most of the shooting in this match. He may be lucky enough to be able to see this ball, but it's only 5-2. Winner break format. Oh, that's a super nice shot there, and nice recovery. I think realizing a little fortunate to get that shot.
Said he's been around a while, and over all those years he's built a good pedigree in the game. First Greek ever to play in the Mosconi Cup, and performed well on both of his appearances. Part of the winning team in London on his debut 10 years ago, and 2 years later, when Europe won again, he actually clinched the winning point by beating Shane Van Boening, no less.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I commend all these players and know what it's about. Being a player, that's what makes them great, is staying aggressive, but still have to be able to pull on the reins at times.
The shot has to make sense.
Right.
That's the bottom line, isn't it?
And the one thing, at least for Ekonomopoulos, he had ball in hand at least. He could set the ball up how he wanted to try and be aggressive. I think Chua's shot maybe a little bit little quick here. Is he playing this in the corner? Wow, this is a very missable ball. He can play this in the side and go right into the 7 with the cue ball. Wow, so he's feeling pretty good to take that on. Now he needs it to slow down a bit, but most players would have played that in the side and just bumped the 7 a little bit.
Be a real key moment in this match, because back to what I was saying, Ekonomopoulos just hasn't been able to get rhythm going, establish himself as a contender in this match. They've been given the opportunities to get back to only 2 behind, instead of which it now looks for all the world as though it's going to be 6-2, and that is the point at which the player can start to see the winning line just appear on the horizon.
Yeah, and I think Chua pretty confident on the break. He did have a dry break and a scratch, but overall has broke the balls pretty well. Falling a little funny, like he's drawing kind of on top of the 8 here, so may draw past it, may kind of pound the cue ball. We'll see. Just a little light draw stroke here. Is he coming back for the side? That must mean he's really drawn into a funny position if he's coming all the way back for the side. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Well, we may well be looking back on this as the most significant rack of the whole match. Once again, it wasn't a certainty, the ball that was missed. It was the sort of ball Ekonomopoulos needed to be getting if he was to turn his mini revival into a full-scale fight back. And having missed it, he didn't get back to the table. Chua leads by 4 again at 6-2. And good news for another player from the Philippines, Lee Van Corteza, also in this round. Has turned things around against Mark Bijsterbosch and now leads 4-3. Ekland Kachi, who we saw on the main table earlier, has taken the opening rack against Vitali Patsura. Naoki Oi of Japan also leading 1-0 against Typhoon Tabor of Germany. And among the other scores worth keeping an eye on, Lucius Yap, runner-up here last year, now leading 3-2 against Mark Vidal Claremont of the United States. Darren Appleton, one of the veterans of the game at this stage, was 3-1 up against Riku Rompainen, but the young man from Finland has just closed that to 3-2. And it's 4-all now on table 2 between Roberto Gomez and John Mora. So all those matches in this round.
Yeah, and a little deja vu in a sense for Yap. Coming into this U.S. Open last year, had some really nice big tournaments and a win right beforehand. Did the same thing so far on his trip to the Americas. Had 2 big wins since he's just been here a few weeks. So riding high and a lot of confidence, and a guy that, you know, is going to end up being labeled a guy, I think, just one of the most consistent players on the planet. Nice opener there. Had to turn the cue ball loose a little bit, but with a really open center of the table, hard to figure him not getting a shot on the 3.
We heard a big cheer coming from somewhere there, JJ. We'll try and confirm what that meant.
I think I may have heard a little yell from Mika Immonen, maybe. Just know the voice. Okay, still in a good position, but tricky here with the 6 the way it is, with the 8 so near it. He'd like to get nice and straight on the 6 where he just draws back, takes a little angle on the 7. Okay, he's gotten a little angle here. Can't really stun by the 8. Is he just going to draw this into the 9 maybe, by the 9? Really another one of those young players with just effortless power.
Now he's sensing that the win is there for the taking. Really underlines how quickly things can develop. It was only about 5 minutes ago Ekonomopoulos had a great chance to get back to only 2 behind. Now it seems he's going to trail by 5.
Yeah, and his biggest issue is not only what Chua's doing, and Chua looks pretty comfortable with the break, but just in case Nikos does get a chance to put, you know, a game on his side, he really hasn't done that much with the break the couple times he has been able to do, you know, attempt the break shot.
So 7-2 it is. I think I know where that cheer came from, Jeremy, and it wasn't in favour of Mika Immonen, because he lost the final rack to Thomas Haas, who's beaten him 9-8, your compatriot. And that means there's only one match left to complete from the first round. Ernesto Dominguez of Mexico leading Robert Frost, the American, 8-5.
Wow, because Robert's been playing very well this year overall, so Ernesto playing a really solid set back there, and maybe Mika was the wrong kind of shout out, I heard.
Yeah. So Thomas Haas will now play Chris Reinhold, who's been in the last couple of Mosconi Cup teams for the United States, in the next round.
Yeah, and I was going to comment about Mika. You know, he's putting in the time, traveling to all the events, but it still does seem like if you watched him in the early part of the event, it's not like he's searching, of course, but just maybe trying to get comfortable early, and maybe didn't get as comfortable early enough in that match. Going against Nikos here. A dry break, but really nothing offensive. And actually a very difficult situation. I'm not sure what he's doing here. He's getting down and shooting pretty quickly. I guess he's going to cut the 1 and try and hold the cue ball on the 7. I'm not sure. Doesn't appear the 7 flicks in off the 1. Interested to see what, I think he's trying to make the 7. I'm not so sure. I think that's going to hit the top rail. Maybe he can spin it in softly. Yeah, that always looked like it was going to hit the top rail to me. Didn't look like a makeable shot. Maybe frustration a little bit there, trying to force it, Michael.
Yeah, I think you may very well have a point. He's certainly cutting that sort of figure with his body language now. He's not really got into the match. Not had a chance to build up any momentum at all and show his abilities.
Yeah, he tried to use a lot of left English to throw the 7. Not only did I not think it was laying that well, but the thing is, you know, at your pool room, balls are a little more grippy. You can manipulate a little more, but here they're very clean, perfect conditions, and very difficult to, like I said, manipulate the object ball. Shouldn't think too much about this. Just keep it simple. Remind yourself how good you are. The 2-7 combo, not difficult, especially when you get the cue ball in a nice position. Nice combo there, hitting it with like a stun to make sure the 2 doesn't really run too much. That should be good enough. Just gonna need a draw stroke.
He's missed a few balls in this match, but as we've said, nothing that really wouldn't have been expected or at least allowable. So overall, it's been a pretty accomplished performance, and looks now almost inevitable it's going to be a winning one.
Oh yeah, that's a big part also of this new break format, is your mistakes really do show up here. I mean, you can make comebacks, of course, but a lead is worth a lot more now, and your mistakes are gonna show up. If Nikos gets back to the table, he's gonna need something super special to overcome what's gonna be an 8-2 deficit. Where before, a lot of the players felt like they could make a few mistakes. If they could just get to the break end, they could overcome them. Not so much anymore.
And we spoke before the match about how these are two well-established players, both with good track records in the game. We expected a close contest. We may yet get one, but it isn't looking very likely at the moment. Chua in total control. It's been largely one-way traffic. He leads 8-2 and is on the hill. Now Ernesto Dominguez has claimed the last win in the first round. It's all over now at 9-5 against Robert Frost. So all the focus really now turning to the round we're in at the moment. And I can tell you what's going to be coming up next in that round on this main table. It is going to be Shane Van Boening, the world champion, against Margaret Fefilova. And over on table 2, Chang Young Lin will be playing Sandra Kont of Estonia. So those matches will be starting in the 1 o'clock session. So pretty soon now. This match could be over pretty soon. Chua breaking on the hill.
Yeah, more of what he was looking for. Looks like the 2's going to open up for a shot. He's got a nice angle. Has an open route to get on a 3-9, it looks like, to end this match, Michael, and send Ekonomopoulos onto the one-loss side. Yeah, this lays perfect to come 2 rails, it looks like. He's got to pull it kind of tight inside the 8, so there is a little concern there, but so kind of come 2 rails towards the 5 a little bit. See how he does it slowly, though. You really got to trust the bed to get you there, and I don't know if he got enough. He's going to have to cut this pretty thin to get it on the 9. I think he'll still shoot at it. The key to this shot is not to throw the ball into position with left English. Hit it with just a straight high and make a natural cut on the 3. Now he's looking at just the cut shot on the 3, but I think it's going to be a 3-9.
He's in about 4 minds as to what to do here.
Yeah, is he entertaining a bank here? A long rail bank with position on the 4 and a safety if he misses. That's what he's doing.
Great spot, Jeremy. Great call. And a great shot, really.
Yeah, and that's, you know, a true professional, really. I mean, you saw the 3-9 there, a little short on position for the 3-9. So even up 8-2, taking no chances. Always had a backdoor safety in mind. Now this has gotten a little tricky just because of the 7 ball. He's got to get by the 7, and if he pulls it a little too much, he could lose that white one in the upper corner. Okay, he took the scratch out of equation, and out of the equation now he's perfect.
So it's over to the 1-loss side for Nikos Ekonomopoulos. He's a much better player than we've seen in this match. In truth, he hasn't had much opportunity to show it. But from Chua's point of view, he's played well enough to feel he'll have a good chance against Ko Pin-Yi in the next round.
Yeah, I'm sure them two have squared off plenty of times, so very familiar. And really, you got to call it kind of a dead heat. I mean, maybe Ko brothers, Ko Pin-Yi a little favorite maybe, but not much.
Well, the way Johann Chua has played in this match, he's going to give a real contest to anyone he might meet in this US Open here in Atlantic City this week. A real surprise, not that he's won the match by any means, but to win it by that margin, don't think any of us saw that coming. Chua the winner with a very strong performance by 9 racks to 2. Let's just have a look at the stats, which will make very good reading for him.